and welcome to the Home and Finance Show. I'm Janice Bradley with JB Real Estate Consultant. My co-host,
Diana Rice Wilkerson with Fairway Independent Mortgage.
we want to welcome you again and tell you a little bit about our show. It's designed to provide you with the most current information that we can about buying, selling, refinancing, or building a home. So, as we often say, on with the show. So, Diana, okay. We always like to talk about what's kind of going on currently. So you are the finance lady. So tell us a little bit about the rates. Remember, everyone, I like to share with you. The reason that people can remember Diana's number is because her number is 317-402-5555. What do? I always put the slashes, which means dollar signs. So
In the
Diana...
fives.
Huh?
I said in the fives.
In the fives, of course. So Diana shows you the money.
That's
so
my
show
job.
us some money. Show us some money, Diana. Show us some rates, all that jazz.
Well, Fairway has plenty of money. We would love to get it in your hands. Rates are great. You guys, rates are in the twos. That doesn't mean that you would get a two, but it means in many cases you could get a two, a rate in the twos if you're willing to pay discount points. Some people qualify for rates in the twos without paying discount points. A lot of that is driven by credit score. But the good news is it's available. And so this is a great time, especially if you're looking to lower your payment, maybe get cash back out of equity out of your home. You can refinance, and you can sometimes do both, lower the rate and get money back and still not be paying any more than what you're paying now. We call that a win-win-win. So this is a great time to reach out to your lender. I'm always available if you'd like to work with me. The other thing is, as far as purchasing a home, we have money for that as well. We offer the FHA loan, VA, conventional, USDA, first-time home buyer programs. I mean, we offer it all. So we're just here ready to just give you that money. Like Janice said, my number is 317-402-5555. My job is to show you the money.
Show you the money, that's for sure. So, you know, Diana, everybody hears different things. They try to understand what it means. And I've heard clients or people say, well, if this is a seller's market, that means it's best for me. This is what the buyers are saying. No, that's not what that means. And what's unbelievable to me, especially for the amount of years that I have been in the business, you know, everything is a circle. We all know that, how it repeats itself. But to say that we are having a seller's market, and we're turning into the fourth year straight, 4 years, and it's just unbelievable to me. And I like the definition of a seller's market. I have one word for it, but really what the definition says is a seller's market is one which there are more buyers than there are sellers, and the supply is less, and the demand is up, and what happens? The prices of the homes go up. And guess what? That makes them some very, very happy sellers. So I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about some of the words that you hear. What does it mean? For instance, let's just talk about it for just a minute. All right, so I have a buyer and I'm representing the buyer as a buyer's agent. And we'll just say you, Diana, you're the listing agent. And I have a buyer that is interested in your particular home. So I have shown your home, okay? And hey, my buyer has a lot of interest, right?
Right.
So what do you say to me? You say, Janice, we have multiple offers. So say that to me.
Janice,
Okay.
We have multiple offers, so get it right, girlfriend.
Get it right.
Yeah.
So what does the multiple offers mean? What it means is that they at least have more than one.
That's right. Okay, they at least have more than one.
At least have more than one.
Yeah.
So we don't want you to be afraid of multiple offers. And what they'll also do, come back and say to us, Diana will say, all right, Janice, you need to bring us your best, your highest, and your best. Those kind of words really can make one panic, you know, highest and best. What does that really mean? Well, it means give your highest, and it means give your best. Now, I have made an offer to Diana, and she's presented it to her seller. Does that mean, okay, that I have to go over the price, or what exactly does that mean?
Because in my mind, when you said that, highest and best, in my mind, I immediately saw whatever I offered in dollars and cents, I had to come with a whole lot more money.
Absolutely. And the reason I want for us to play off each other, a lot of times the highest is best is when our offer has already been presented to you.
Okay.
So you now have our offer, but you are receiving other offers, which now means, of course, multiple offers.
Okay.
Is that confusing enough? Well, so what do we do about that? So you say to, Janice, multiple offers, make sure you bring your highest and best. Well, what I share with my buyer, okay, is this our highest or best? Does that necessarily mean that you have to change your offer? And it may mean as far as the price, because you're saying
Right.
that means, okay, I have to come up with a lot more. Well, we might have already come up $5,000 more. So maybe we're not willing to do that. Maybe with the comparables that we've looked at and so we see what the homes are selling for. But maybe that also the best could be terms, okay? And that's why I just kind of want to talk to you a little bit so you can kind of understand that what that really means. So I always recommend, when we realtors that are in this situation, we always want to recommend that you think about, even before you make that offer, really what is the best that you can do at that particular time. So, it's just like anything else. Give your best. Give your best.
So my question is, it sounds like when you are reviewing then the offer with your client,
Yes.
there are a few things you're reviewing in that offer to see if that's the best
Exactly.
you can do.
Exactly.
Price may not change.
Price may not change.
Okay, great.
So what I did, I just went ahead and brought my purchase agreement just so I could kind of go over some things that kind of make some sense, to us all, so that you can kind of see what's what. Now, I say that to say is that, okay, since you're the lender, Miss Diana, and you're oftentimes my lender, so maybe that means, can you close this loan in 25 days instead of 30? The norm, we would say, could possibly, if it's not a cash offer, could be 30 days.
Right.
So I might say, okay, and that could be, one of the options to say, okay, well, we could close in less time, okay? And 25 days can look a lot better than 30 days. And why is that? Also, if the particular seller maybe has a loan, a mortgage, anything can happen where you don't close on time.
Right.
But that can really make them feel pretty good knowing, okay, so I won't have to make a payment,
Right.
this next month because it's 25 days.
Right.
So even if it doesn't close on the 25th, you got 5 days to work with.
And you're saving me money.
I'm saving you money, absolutely. So again, that's some of the ways we might do a particular term. Let's also talk about, earnest money. You might want to really, earnest money can usually be 1% of whatever the sales price of the house is. So if it's $100,000, then we'll say 1,000. Hey, if you've got 2,000,
Yeah.
that might make you look really good on paper because you're giving up $2,000 for earnest money for a $100,000 house. Just the little things that can, obviously just kind of make things look a little bit different for you. What I also like to do, now let's talk about this price situation. Statistics are showing us over and over and over again that the homes are going for maybe $5,000, $7,000, $10,000. It depends on every situation is really, really different. But what I really want our listening audience and our new buyers to understand is that again, realtors have to do the homework, but we want you to do it with us also. So, when you make an offer, even in the very beginning, whether it's a seller's market or a buyer's market, is it worth what they're asking? So there's some homework that goes into that. And again, you want to use the latest, what has sold. And even in a year, it can make all the difference. And we're showing it over and over again that the homes are appreciating. So that's number one. Is full price going to get it? Maybe not, okay? Now, full price might get it if another type of offer came in, and what that could be? Cash.
Yeah.
When they say cash is king, cash is king. So the cash person might say, okay, I can close in 2 weeks. Well, that sounds awfully good to a seller.
It sure does.
Okay, and it's not necessarily even that we're finding that they're also they're investors. It might just be someone who's made a lot of money off of their particular home, or maybe borrowed from their 401k, whatever, and they want this over with. So again, it's all in negotiating. But even if you've offered $5,000 over, I have seen where a cash offer has beat us, and it's not too much we can do about that.
I have a question for you.
Please do.
In this market, since you're aware of all of this going on in the market today, how do you, what do you suggest to your buyers when they're making that first offer? You know, in terms of trying to make sure their offer gets accepted or at least considered. What are some of the things that you do today that maybe you didn't do 4 years ago, 3 years ago,
You really
2
don't
years
want
ago?
me to tell you, okay? But we talked about the closing date. You know, obviously that can very well help. So changing the closing date. It also could be a possession situation. If the home is occupied, I'll usually try to get some information about, okay, what's happening with this particular seller? You know, can they move right away, or do they need to find another house? If I can find out something that, you know, will help make that seller feel like, okay, I don't have to just completely leave even before the closing. You have to be very, very, very careful when the home is occupied and you're asking for possession at closing. You seriously, because anything can happen, you know, and then the seller has moved. And we know that's happening over and over again. So we certainly try to accommodate the seller, you know, because, you know, hey, trying to even get a moving van, you'd be surprised with this crazy market, some of the things people are running into. So yes, that would be one of the things, you know, would be possibly possession. Some of the other things that I have highlighted, and this is really, when Diana, when you asked me, you know, what has really changed, I would say the as is, buying the property as is. You know, if I have known I've written a really great offer and so on and so forth, and we didn't get it, I'll ask this listing agent, I know you don't have to share this with me, but can you tell me, you know, what was it, you know, that allowed the seller to take another offer? And it was an as is. Okay, it was as is. So that is something that doesn't feel very good for you, but there's some ways that you can make yourself feel a little bit more comfortable for the client. And that is, what did the seller do as far as updates, you know, considering of the plumbing, you know, the HVAC system, things of this nature that could you know, that are major type things that you shouldn't really run into a problem if they're pretty much, you know, 2 or 3 years old. You know, the roof. If it's a condo, then there's certain things that are going to be the HOA's responsibilities, which I really like. You know, that's helpful, and also in negotiating. So yes, what's changed, Diana, to answer your question, has been my writing offer as is. However, that does not mean that we're still not having an inspection on the property. One of the things that I do also to make my buyer feel comfortable and to make me feel comfortable, because again, you know, we want to look on paper, but we got to protect one another. And that would be as is, we're willing to take this property as is, but as we have this inspection, we want to make sure that there's no structural issues, no safety issues, or habitability issues. And of course, you know, a seller thinks that there's nothing going on with their house, even if there hasn't been a whole lot of updates. So they're saying, oh, that's cool.
That's okay.
That's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's fine. So that is very, very helpful. That is very, very helpful to put that kind of language in there.
What would you say to buyers in the market today, Janice, who want to make an offer under the list price? I mean, what should they be aware of when they're doing that?
Do you want the real Janice answer, or okay, well, once again, you know, people learn by. I'm not going to say by making mistakes, but during the process. If you know, I've done my job by sharing you what the homes have been selling for. And Diana, real quickly, so what I try to help them understand is that, okay, the house is listed for $150, and that's pretty much what, a $950 payment, would you say? A $950 payment. So when you think about, I just have the buyer think about how many people. $950 is a very comfortable payment for them. So you're going to be really running into the people who are just like you, want to keep their payment at $950. You know, so if you're trying to really offer lower, you need to understand what does that mean for you as a monthly payment. So often people, you know, our buyers don't realize that for each $1,000, it only affects your payment like 6 or 7. So it's education there. Another bit of education is you want them to feel comfortable that you're on their side. So If they're not comfortable with making at list price and to seeing what is happening, go ahead and let them offer. And then, of course, their offer gets rejected.
Right.
You know, so it's not me that's rejecting them. It's just showing them what the market, and that helps. That helps a lot of people learn their lesson. You know, she's not kidding, and they're not taking it personal.
Right.
That way, they're not, you know, then I'm not taking it personal, but it's personal for them. But again, let me share something. You know, we all buy by emotion. We buy by feel. What I've seen over and over again is the fact that when it's that house for you, and you walk in that house, you'll say, how much do they want? Okay. So, you know, we do negotiate, you know, in those different kind of things. Some of the other things, Diana, that I see differently in the purchase agreement, and everything, like we said, is negotiable. But in the purchase agreement, it also talks about the home warranty. And a lot of times people, you know, that's what they are concerned about. Oh, if this goes wrong, that goes wrong. But we're protected as an offering. I used to always do it even before it was part of the purchase agreement. But in the offer, in the purchase agreement, it does talk about who will pay for what as far as home warranties, which is something that covers HVAC, plumbing, water heaters, things of this nature. Well, automatically in the past, you know, you're saying, okay, Mr. Seller, you know, you pay for my home warranty for a year. Part of negotiation now is if I can have you pay for it, and why Mr. or Mrs. Buyer, can you pay for it? Because part of that down payment assistance that we've been working with can allow the buyer to pay for their own home warranty,
Right.
and that's just that much less, obviously, that they're asking the seller to pay.
Right.
Okay.
So as far as making it attractive, you've got to have the seller in mind while you have, it sounds like you've got yourself in mind as the buyer, but you also have to have the seller in mind.
And that is putting on two hats. It really is. Now, when you run into situations, I think we've had this conversation before, when you run into situations where the seller is a seller right now, but they're getting ready to buy a house, and they've all of a sudden, you know, just, you know, Dr. Chuckle, whoever it is, they've just switched on me. You know, now they're a seller, but now they become a buyer and they want this from, you know, the same thing what the buyer wanted on their house.
Right.
So again, it's just, you know, being very, very human. But yes, I actually asked the buyer, I need you to put two hats on right now. The buyer, because, you know, who are you working for? Are you working for me or are you working for the seller? Well, let's act like we are the seller. And so I just give them these different options, and then they kind of see exactly, you know, what we're talking about. Even when it comes to taxes, as far as being something that's negotiable. Most of us know that in the state of Indiana, that we are a year in arrears. Okay, only Indiana probably, but you know, that is part of how our taxes are done, you know, our property taxes. So it may be that in negotiating that we don't get the whole year of credit back. I mean, it just really depends on looking at this big picture. So maybe it means that, okay, we agree to pay the next seller's assessment, installment, thank you.
Yep.
Installment. Yeah, if you don't think that's hard for, you know, for a realtor who's been in the business for a while, because, hey, you know, you haven't even owned the home. But it's things of this nature. We write little articles, you know, just explaining who the person is and why they need this and why they need that, stories. I used to do that a long, long time ago.
Right.
But still, sometimes the seller does like to know a little bit about the potential buyer. You know?
I can see where that can make a difference also, because a seller who's lived in their home, unlike an investor, but a seller who's been living in their home for 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, they would like someone to enjoy their home sort of like they did. So I can see where a story could make a difference, you know, and so that's a good technique.
Well, another technique, if we're going to put this in your lap, would be a lender letter.
Yes.
Share with us a little bit, Diana, about what this lender's letter says.
Well, the lender letter basically goes in, it complements the pre-approval letter. The pre-approval letter basically says the buyer has been reviewed by the lender. I've looked at income, credit, assets, debt ratio, and the whole entire bit. But it doesn't say several things. Sometimes the seller or the listing agent is unaware of the company. There are a lot of mortgage companies out there in the industry now. They know bank names, but they don't know mortgage company names. They don't know how large or small. They don't know if the buyer has actually been vetted through the underwriting systems today. We use automation today to make a lot of lending decisions. And then they don't know anything about me as the lender or any loan officer many times. So we use the lender letter to say to the seller, number one, acknowledging the seller's got a tough decision to make when it comes to deciding on whose offer to accept. But I use it, I talk a little bit about Fairway. We're the 5th largest lender in the country, how long we've been around. We are local lenders, so we're not, the buyer is not dealing with a lender that's in California. They know that this is a lender right here in Indiana, in Indianapolis. I talk about the fact that we have vetted the buyer. I've looked at the documents, ran the loan through the computer automated system for approval, and then speak about my experience, because I've been in the business for over 30 years. So people like that. I mean, the longer you've been in the business, the longer you've seen things and you've figured out ways to, analyze and work around things. So that lender letter also can help, especially when the buyer has cooperated and provided all of the documentation and in the format that you've asked. So, and when you give that letter, as this is me, first of all, when I give out a pre-approval letter, I'm committed 100%. I'm not going to give out a pre-approval letter not feeling like we're going to the closing table. But the lender letter goes even further than that. So when you give that lender letter, most realtors recognize it, especially if you're not known in the industry as being somebody that just, gives them out like you're running copies through the copy machine. They realize that this is a stronger buyer.
Exactly.
This could be a stronger buyer than some of the other ones that we've seen.
And certainly appreciate it. It looks very, very, very good. We love that. Yeah, it does say a lot about the company. There's no ifs and buts about that, Diana. I do appreciate that. So again, we're talking about the buyers,
Yes.
for this kind of market. And again, we just work through it.
Got a question for you. Okay, say I'm a buyer and my lease is up in August.
Yes.
And I am considering buying a home at that time. So when should I reach out, like I can pre-approve a buyer now. I encourage anybody looking to buy a house either 2021, 2022, go ahead and let me take a look, make sure you're on track. But if it's someone who truly knows, I'm going to buy a house in August, okay?
Right.
I've already met with Diana. She told me I'm good, okay? When should that person start looking today, given the inventory supply being so low, right? And that quickness, the closing with the quickness. So when's a good time for them to reach out to you?
I would probably say June. If we're trying to close in August, and we would say maybe the end of August, but we still would have to act quickly. There was a time that maybe you would look at maybe going a little earlier, and then you see what you want, and maybe extend the closing.
Right.
For maybe like 60 days. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
45 days even makes you really say, okay,
Yeah.
Are you serious? It all depends on what the market's doing, and that's a very good question. But I would probably say June. One of the things I do say to offer to my buyer also, check with the rental people to see if you can go month to month. Because we do realize that the homes are going very, very quickly, and again the demand. When you actually are looking at the price ranges of the houses, and anywhere from whether it's 100 to 200. Is a high demand. And so you just, but again, you also need to maybe open yourself up to other areas. Everybody has a comfort zone, and we do understand that. But you also maybe have to, depending on what your situation is, you might have an option, of looking at a condo. Maybe you said a single family, but maybe a condo could actually work for you even better.
Right.
Right. So I hope I've answered your question.
You did answer my question. Another thing that I know, I was talking to a borrower the other day, and this particular borrower was approved for down payment assistance in the 200,000 plus range.
Right.
So ultimately, at the end of the day, they're not going to have to put any money down. They're under a lease, but their landlord had told them they may be able to get out of the lease if they found a house sooner. So for some people, they may not have to wait until August. Like for some people, you may not have to wait until your lease is actually up.
Right.
So we would say, ask the landlord about maybe.
You need to. You need to. Whether 30 days and these 60 days lease really kind of are very challenging.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. It's very, very challenging. But what we really try to do is to see what when you have, especially with the 60 days. So for instance, it's still hard to believe, but with January, let's say we're closing in January, our
Yeah.
first payment's not due until when? March. Okay. So that's crazy.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's, how far we are into it.
Yeah.
But so we kind of have to figure out, okay, if you're stuck with that 60 days, there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
But let's look at the big picture, and that's usually what everybody wants to know, when their first payment is going to be due.
Right.
So we really kind of have all set that being uncomfortable, giving 60 days, and when I'm paying.
Right.
I'm 60 days, especially if I've closed earlier.
Right. And sometimes you have to go ahead and pay that 2 months to get out of the lease, period. Just pay it and be done. Because this customer I was talking to the other day, I was like, okay, with your house, you're not really going to have to invest any money to buy your house. So paying a couple of months rent, that may be the only thing you have to pay to break your lease. And because we were talking about timing,
Exactly.
and homes are, this is still winter, and it's still, don't you think it's just a titch better maybe buying right now than spring and summer?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
But it is amazing how many one days they just come on the market. But yes.
Amen.
But yes, and in the wintertime, especially if it's cold. Now, if it's kind of cold,
Yeah.
I think
Snow
we
and
kinda,
ice.
Yeah, I think we kind of got something going for us, because how many people are really looking. But
Right.
when you are looking at this time of year,
Yeah.
and you have put your market on this time of year, you're serious.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're serious.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's one of the things that us also does help.
Right. And so, and Janice always says January is spring.
Spring, that's
January
real
is
estate.
spring for the home buying process. So you
And
guys,
sellers.
and sellers, oh my God. But
What
for
you're dealing with a lot of possible relocation.
Okay.
Not as much as it used to be.
Okay.
It used to, right there around the first of the year, you were dealing with relocation.
Okay. So if you're a seller and you're preparing to sell your home this year, get ready to have it sold in like a day, maybe.
Depending where you are. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. I would say the main thing for anybody looking to do anything in 2021, get started early. That is the absolute most important thing. Janice, your number?
My number is 317-590-7348. And Diana, showing me the money.
I'm the money lady. My number is 317-402-5555.
See you next time.
Bye.
Has it been a nightmare trying to buy, build, sell, or refinance a home? Then wake up to the Real Estate Dream Team of Janice Bradley and Diana Rice Wilkerson. This dynamic duo provides you with up-to-date, honest information, credit counseling, financing options, and more. Don't listen to haters who say, you can't own your own home. Yes, you can. With Janice and Diana, call now and listen for them on the Home and Finance Show, Saturdays, 1 p.m. on WTLC AM 1310 The Light.